Welcome to Answers from the Universe and the Andronicus transmissions on Wolf Spirit Radio, Ever Beyond Radio, and Studio 9 Jam on YouTube. With your host, Jessica Ariel Morocco, featuring JP as the voice of Andronicus. Please visit www.readingsbyrael.com, that's ARAEL.
From the future, by way of the past, I bought my ticket for the 15th century. We started moving through a hole in history.
You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today at Answers from the Universe and the Andronicus transmissions. I'm really happy to be back. There's been 3 weeks that I didn't do a live show. Some of you noticed, some of you haven't, because I think some of the shows you just didn't remember. I had a few replays from the earlier shows over a year ago. But anyhow, happy to be back, and there's a lot to talk about. There are 6 transmissions today, 6 of them, and to discuss some of the things that are going on. They had me off in doing some missions. I was gone for approximately 2 weeks, and some remote locations, and but for the most part, I was in Iceland. I was asked to go there by Rhodan, and he had been talking to me from Iceland for maybe a half a year now that I've been seeing him there. And so, and this of course is dimensionally, but hey, you never know who you're meeting at times. But anyhow, I want you to stay tuned, because even after the transmissions, we have James, Rink, and Adrian, who will be here from the Super Soldier Talk show, and going to discuss some other things. Maybe if they're open, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Kruger program. But I'd like to get started, and I want to say hello to JP. I missed you.
Oh, I missed you, certainly. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Got a nice suntan?
Not in Iceland, no. No. I know that I missed everybody. A lot of people were checking in. They were concerned. They didn't know where I went. And I should have done a pre-record, but it was really that spontaneous.
It was nice to revisit some of those old transmissions. Was it number 25, the first one? Because I remember 25 was the time when he meets a lot of the rest of the characters, like Rhodan and everybody like that. It's quite an interesting time.
Is it either 24 or 25? I'm trying to remember. I should look on Skype and see some of the messages that I gave you, because I have all of the numbers that were listened to. Let's see. And then of course we did some fun stuff too as well. We have we did a pre-record while I was gone. As soon as I got over to Iceland, I was sitting in the base hostel, and for those of you that don't know where that is, I mean, it's kind of a cool place. It's right close to the airport. And I sat there and I started getting information and about the races that were coming in, these other races. And so I was trying to find a quiet place. I went into this neon phone booth, closed the door, and started to do the update that we did, and recorded it live, or recorded it directly from Iceland. So I
thought from the phone box in Iceland. It's very exciting.
Yes.
Very on the travel thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was fun. Let's see. Oh, let's see. I'm looking and let's see. I'm looking at the messages. I can't quite see yet. Hold on. Oh, and then there was
I'm just looking through. I'm just rolling back the Skype thing.
I know that we had how that Kirk Douglas had passed too.
Oh yes, the Kirk Douglas thing, and where are we? 17, number 17.
Number 17 was one of them.
The first one we did, and then I think the next one was 54.
Okay, and then there was a third one. No, there was one before.
Or maybe it was 25 then.
Yeah.
I'm sure for you. 27. There we go. 27 and then 54.
Okay.
17,
so those
27,
of you that
54. Those of you with the numerological bent might want to play with those numbers. I don't know. Maybe they're not connected, but yeah.
So Kirk Douglas died.
So he did.
And he did. He was pretty old as well. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just started talking to me, and they reminded me that Michael Douglas was Oberon and his wife Zeta, and they were part of the Andromedan, an Andromedan ship, and they knew Andronicus. And so that goes way back for those of you that were really paying attention to the shows and kind of making note of it. Oberon is a commander that is a part of the alternative reality Andromedans. This is after Neptune. After the Neptune incident, Andronicus finds himself on a ship. Commander Oberon's there. Andronicus has to help him navigate because Oberon's having some problems with things. And that's where Borkum comes in. And then Meetis shows up for the first time. And Meetis is like Andronicus is alternate. It's a lot of high strangeness in that series, and I was trying to follow and understand it. So it's interesting as we go and revisit these old shows, and then I see that Kirk Douglas had passed, and they told me that he was actually a commander as well. And I said, what, like Captain Kirk, right? It was really weird. It was very, very strange. So now I didn't just say, hey, yeah, you want to be funny and make up something about Captain Kirk. But in all honesty, they actually said this to me. And I said, well, it's possible because you look at Kirk Douglas. I mean, he was very fit and very, trained and sort of more so than most of the celebrities in Hollywood. It looked like he worked out quite a bit.
He's a manly-looking man, Kirk Douglas.
Yeah.
With a little chinny
sort of
pointy
like a
thing.
warrior type, right? The little thing in his chin. I mean, he looked like he was quite a warrior. Spartacus, I think he played some really strong roles. And so they told me that, yeah, he was also a captain on a ship, an Andromedan ship, similar to his son, and maybe that's why they were, together in this incarnation. But it was interesting because someone mentioned, well, because he had a very, very strong connection to Russia. He was originally from Russia. It was incarnated in Russia, and so they said, well, do you think he was part of a secret space program in Russia? And I wouldn't be surprised at all. He was a super soldier. And because they have programs as well, and I've actually seen their programs in Russia, similar to like what they have in Montauk here, Tavistock over in England, and Russia has their own version. And I kind of stumbled on it a few times, but yeah, sure enough, there it was. So anyhow, that's strange stuff happening all around us. But of course, Commander Oberon is still around. Who is Michael Douglas and his wife, Zeta Jones, Catherine Zeta Jones.
Captain Zeta. So,
it's
really interesting.
Right?
Connected with, because Alex Collier has got this book film kind of thing that he called Captain Dinar. I'm not sure if I've spoken too much of it. But he's written a kind of script for a film and a book called The Adventures of Captain Dinar. And essentially, it's like one of those ships like Oberon's and Andronicus's. So,
right. I mean, I think personally the stories should merge. I mean, we really should get together, because I think that I have some pieces of the puzzle and so does he. And I'm not saying that his story is my story. Clearly not. But I do think that his story is going to go into film when the controllers kind of are get out of the way a bit and allow us to bring forward our information instead of just stealing it and then taking credit and taking the money. When they kind of, open up their consciousness or the right ones come into play, then we can, bring forward the disclosure of the knowledge that we have for the world, instead of more of the war games that they kind of perpetuate through the sci-fi agenda. I mean, it's not just about war, it's about the learning process too. So I do see it. I do see it in the future as becoming a movie, but I do feel that he and I should discuss some things, because I think that we're going to find some parallels. We're going to find some that he's probably has seen some of the same crafts that I have, or that I've, there might be a spot where he hasn't seen something I have, and vice versa. So I don't listen to him regularly because I don't want to get his information in my head. I really want to keep things clear, and I don't listen to a lot of shows. And that's particularly the reason I don't want any bleed through. But I do admire these people that are doing similar work to what I'm doing, or something of the nature of bringing forward what the galactics are saying and doing.
I had another guy on my show a few weeks ago, Alex Goncalves, who has more information about the Patal. This is whatever these higher dimensional beings who come down into 3D reality.
How do you spell that? Is that
well, I spelt it PA''AT -AL, but that's just to make it kind of Patal, to make. But apparently it's a Draco word. That's what the Dracos called them. So that's why it's got the sort of very apostrophized.
Guttural.
Yeah, guttural sort of sound, yeah.
So
Klingon.
Does that mean that
apparently it's not Klingon, it's Klingon.
Oh, okay.
But that's how the Americans heard it. They heard Klingon.
We don't have those sounds. Although if you go to, Germany and some of these other areas, the Germanic languages, they have them. Those more deeper guttural sounds. I don't know what the term of it is, but yeah.
Glottal. So, there's all sorts of there's the but also we have that in Liverpool, as Becky just reminded me. All right, mate. There's Abach, Anyway, that was a terrible Liverpool accent. But anyway, moving swiftly on, shall we?
So anyhow, we have a lot of different things, and I do think if we all collaborated, it would be one hell of a story. But and not to mean that we can't have our independent stories as well. But I think it's good for us to join together, because essentially we're all kind of doing the same thing, but from another perspective. And so why don't we get in? I wasn't expecting Thor to come through today, but he did. So I'd like to bring him forward. Now, Andronicus doesn't come through as Andronicus, but he comes through as Andrew and John again. And he's doing it again, and I asked him about it, and of course he corrected me. But maybe we should get started, so we have plenty of time to get through all the transmissions.
Yes, indeed.
So we're going to begin with Thor.
With Thor?
Or Thor.
I saw a film trailer for the Thor, and I thought this really kind of butchy kind of guy, and
he didn't. To me, the way I do Thor, that's how it's like. I know Norwegians, like they're like 6'3", 6'4", and they have these very high voices.
Yeah.
So, I am here watching all that you do. I see you from afar and near. Your work in Iceland was victorious. You had awakened the sleeping giants. They have now come to serve the planet again. The entry into Asgard is reopened to allow our ancestors to return home as they have desired to return. It has been a long and difficult sojourn for them. They have wept many tears from the separation from kinsmen and their homeland to prevent the destruction of this planet and other connected worlds. They stood upon the precipice of time to maintain that the earth and its gateway to Asgard was preserved and uncorrupted by other species. We are content to say that Asgard remains pure to our ancestors and our lineage is preserved. We wanted to hold on to our birthright to keep our family tree uncorrupted and tainted by lower dimensional creatures. We are not free yet. The Simians have been adamant about integrating our timelines to access the tree of life for their own agendas. It has been a great interest and conquest to rule as they are power-hungry and desirous of what we have acquired through blood, sweat, and tears. They expect that all should be given to them through forms of manipulation and intimidation, and that will not fare well with us. We know our own people, and they cannot fool or trick us. Their tactics of force will also not end well for them, as they will be turned around, and they will discover that they are in an endless loop of illusion and misfortune. We take all of this very seriously, and we will not bend and never have bent a knee to any race or species at this time or to this time. At this juncture, we are victorious. Any threat of forceful alliance or manipulation is minimal, since the Bifrost giants have been awakened and are able to support us. The giants have awakened and we are now free. Be diligent to follow through the journey and take my sons with you if you need to be resolved in this. Farewell, my sister Freya. We are united once again. It is a pleasure to see you once again engaged in the matters of our family. There you go. So, Jessica? She's gone off for a cup of tea. Meanwhile, either that or she's struggling with her mute button now.
Hello?
Yep, you're struggling with your mute button.
Oh, okay. No.
There we go. You're back now.
Okay, good. Yeah, strange. I don't know. Strange connections today.
Do you want me to, can I call you back?
Sure. Please do.
Let's see if that does anything. Good old Skype. Or bad new Skype. Old Skype was brilliant. New Skype is rubbish. Okay, yes, there does seem to be a bit of a connection. There we go.
Here we are.
There you are. That's a lot better. Okay. Well, I can hear my phone going dit. Anyway, so there we go. Yeah, Thor, Asgard, simians.
Yes.
Those little monkeys.
Yeah, it's a whole different species, you know. They're and they've been gaining leverage since past 3 years or so, maybe more, 4. Gaining more and more power in the other dimensions. So they've been having me work on that.
Keep those monkeys in the cage. Yes, you're coming through perfectly.
Well, it's just like the Dracos. They belong somewhere, but not here. And so it's just trying to get things sorted out so we can bring them back to their proper place. But one thing for sure, we don't want them getting by the tree of life. They're not evolved enough for that.
So it's like giving a machine gun to a young child. It's just inappropriate for their level of evolution and their level of responsibility. It's all about all of these stories that we've been living through in the last the year and a half, I don't know how long, have been about responsibility, about irresponsibility and the consequences. Absolutely.
And that's something that we need to, take very seriously. I mean, we just can't, it's not that, everything has its place. But, you can't take a two-dimensional or three-dimensional being and then put them up into the 7th or 8th dimension. Because then they start wielding their power in an unnatural way, and of course it's a temptation to have all that power. But, should they have it? No, I don't think so. So it's something that needs to be sorted out, and this is where the imbalance is coming in. And why, you're looking and saying, why is that person in charge right now? It's because these ETs from the lower dimensions have jumped in. It doesn't make any other sense.
So they just fill vacuums. Yeah. So it's very interesting that the idea of like monkeys with, simians as a monkey species, and that they, I think the main issue, right? What makes the difference between somebody who has the responsibility and somebody is that they can listen to the criticism. Like the other day, when you brought through some of these goddesses who were not very pleased with with Chris Jacobs at the time.
Right.
Like the exes got together and compared notes as I was joking, But he took it and he said, yeah, he accepted it. He owned it. And that's the difference. That's what responsibility is, isn't it? To be able to say, or to be able to say, to be told, hang on, stop that. That's wrong. And, that you actually realize that can be, that there's not the right thing to do. You might have started it innocently, but its consequences have turned out to be serious in other dimensions or in other people's habitats.
Right. And you have to realize too, well, I think in that case it was more or less, this is a piece of your history that you don't remember. So it wasn't something he was doing now. It was something that happened a long time ago. So it's not, hey, all these women are around, complaining about you. But, I think the goddesses and even some of the old, gods will, kind of hold you to something. You have no idea. You have a problem. It's just like me and Poseidon. We've had our issues. And supposedly he didn't like I did something or I said something and and then they show up and they're causing problems and you have no idea why. So it was something similar to that. So it wasn't like he had multiple women that he was like, playing the field and doing this and that. This is over, a long period of time. And they just, some of them didn't want to let go. Some of them were saying, hey, you left. You didn't say anything. Yeah. And that's what a warrior does. They they up and leave. Of course. Yeah. So all he has to do is just apologize and then, of course they can't hold him to it because this isn't a prison planet as much as some people want to say it is. They can only hold you if you agree to it. You consent to it. But I think essentially that's what I was saying, but it was kind of weird. At that moment, I could feel like I was in the center of a bunch of women, and I was like, oh, even I didn't want to be there. Because I knew that they were not happy, and of course, didn't want to be a part of that.
Hell hath no fury than one woman scorned, but one, dozen more, lovers come and go, but exes accumulate. That's just the thing, isn't it?
It all depends on your lifestyle, but, hey, for some, they have a few. For others, they have many friends everywhere. So, yeah, at some point or another, they'll collide. Yeah.
When worlds collide. So, just to go back, this fellow, Alex Goncalves, was also talking about his time in Atlantis and as Atlas of Atlantis and how he wanted to apologize to Poseidon. So that might be an interesting show to listen to, see what you think.
That would be an interesting thing to see Atlas and Poseidon having a conversation.
Maybe we could facilitate this.
Well, he's not that, it's just not that easy.
He's not that sociable, really, is he?
When I bump into him, it's just like, all right, even if I go down by the ocean now, I'm just, the waves will just come right up over it. I'm like, okay, I get the point. Yeah, he's pretty fiery. And fiery for someone that's in water. Yeah.
Oh well. Just don't go on any ferries, alright? Anyway, so so where are we going next?
We're going with Andrew next.
Andrew.
Yeah,
Andrew
and
number-
we can facilitate that. We can have a discussion, and I'll see if Poseidon wants to come through and have a talk. If you want to do that sometime.
Yeah, we'll get. I think it'd be really cool to have a Andromedan round table or something like that.
Yeah, that would be good.
So,
Always thought of. All right, so Andrew and John are aspects of Andronicus.
and Andrew's in the past and John's in the future?
Correct.
Right, okay. So John is like a time traveler from the future who sees you now, and Andrew is there at the beginning before. I mean, he may have been Andrew before he was Andronicus, before he was like 803-674 or whatever it was, and there was that out of that developed Andronicus, the character. You know, his own character.
That's correct. You got it perfect.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, let's have a look.
Because he hasn't told me the backstory yet, but eventually I'm sure it will come out.
Right. So,
Okay.
Andrew.
Hello, Andrew. I thought you weren't coming back in this form. Not that I mind. I'm just going by what you had told me earlier.
Try to be patient and have more trust. I know you distrust in many ways due to harsh experiences in the past. You're sometimes a fatalist, always expecting the worst. I blame this on your childhood incarnation here. Those 12D Pleiadians were merciless to you. Now listen, we have things to attend to. I have been assisting your access to the upper and lower gates. During that week you spent time with us, me and the girls, I sent you to Agartha, to the Masters, to off-world channels, to Gibraltar, to the 7 seas of stars where the sisters reside, the true sisters, not the false stars of the Pleiades. Your hidden sister, Phoebe, was more than kind and held you all up. It was up in great strength, fortitude, and awareness of the platinum curtain of protection. The Willow Gate needs much work, but the Rainbow Ladder is assisting. Please work in harmonious action and synchronized affiliation. Jermaine is assisting to cleanse and purge the upper chambers and will work his way down or up in accordance with your need. So much deception and misleading advice has occurred, but we will gather through it. In the end, Tara will no longer be the haven of mess, indulgences, and corruptions. We will be victorious in all our endeavors to unleash the platinum light as well as the palladium frequency, which is new on the planet. You are carrying the platinum light and are assisting the palladium frequency onto the planet. This has never been done in history. Any false system or intruding misleading species will be revealed plainly. The 22 species are making their entry. I will be the one to bring them in, and you are the vessel I will work through. This will not listen to anyone else but me. They will not listen to anyone else but me.
Yes.
If another
Sorry.
person complains about what you are saying, then let them come to me. I will deal with them straight away. I'm growing weary of their false thunder. They will have to prove their power to me and see if they can correct my words. No worries, child. You are the messenger, but I am the message. Let them come and see who I am. Okay. So what's this? The Pleiades, not the Pleiades?
It's palladium, which is a metal, like a metal.
Oh,
of some kind of-
palladium. Yes, indeed. Palladium.
Yes.
So, interesting. So, do you want to go
I
on?
know.
Oh, and you're carrying the platinum light.
Yes, that's what he said to me.
Isn't it
So-
interesting, the color of your hair?
Oh, yeah, it's true. Maybe that's why I was drawn to do that.
Yeah, because it happened suddenly, didn't it? You know, all right, I'm going
It did.
platinum blonde. Boom. There you go.
I'm looking for, let's see, John 5. Did I send that to? There it is.
Yeah, I got it.
We're
Okay.
going to John next. So we might as well
Meanwhile.
do Andrew and then go into the future with John.
Into the future on the special time machine. John, number 5. I hope you are aware that time is moving sideways in various tones and directions at this time. This is to protect the innocent from frequency attacks and misalignments, incorrect information and data that is not consistent with any truth. The AI is at a standstill and will be looping. You will notice repetitive patterns in those providing data for the binary coding and jagged flaws of inconsistent waves that were typically riding on binary codes. Instead, there is a drop-off, looping, and static. The code must be broken completely where no other AI can train off it. In order for the AI to exist, this frequency has to be sustained. It has been corrupted and broken by none other than you. I'm sure you weren't aware of it, but you literally dropped a tree on it.
I suppose I did that in my frustration. I have no idea how I do these things, but it seems to be directed at the right location when it does happen. I follow where the energy's coming from and return it to sender, if you know what I mean. In this case, a woman I knew who seemed highly hijacked and went on and on looping and repeating about AI and sun god Ra. It was a sheer and utter nonsense. I didn't see a purpose at all in what she was saying. I didn't even think she knew what she was saying. And then she began bragging that she was the Theta killer. I said, what? Why is she bragging about killing the innocent people who should have a purpose of helping the planet? Anyhow, I knew she was under AI, and I saw that she was connected to the Sophie, the AI robot in the Middle East. I thought, they are so sexually warped that they would hide all females, have them cover themselves, but they want a robot female strutting around to further confuse their society into fantasies with robots. What a twisted bunch of creatures. There must be a slew of the underworld beings unleashed and attached to them. I mentioned this to her to awaken her senses, to pull away from this agenda, to not connect to that AI anymore. The transhumanism reality does not thrive in the future. They are incapacitated and corrupted because true life form doesn't exist in them. True consciousness doesn't exist in robots. Therefore, the God Source will not support programmed metal. There is no purpose in it. Nor will the God Source support mind-controlled robots with a partial essence of human souls. Ultimately, the soul will be returned back to Source, and the robots will cease to exist. Nothing to keep it going if there's no life force. So my question is, why do they continue with their futile efforts of delusions of grandeur, arrogance of superiority, false beliefs of recreating humanity, and the soul matrix?
Because humanity is still learning that they are not in control, and they are in fear of not being in control of things instead of trusting that their existence will thrive. I know you were distraught about that interaction with that woman and the strangeness of the robot Sophie and energies or intentions behind her creation. It can be distressful, but I need you to see and be awakened to what is going on around you. Eventually, some of those who have been pulled in and hijacked by AI will come out of it like a frozen piece of ice melting, and all the pains and sorrows of what they said and did and who they agreed to align with. It will be a horrifying nightmare to some. To others, they are protected from the intended agendas and cruelties of those who were hijacked. It is a bitter reality and time for many to heal when all programs lived. I want to encourage all who have been staying strong throughout these challenges. It has been a very hard journey for us all. Imagine us seeing everything take place from our perspective. We did everything but flee from the earth, but decided to stay and return back to help. Jacques Quepon has been a true friend, and I am grateful for his assistance. I will return to share more. John. Jacques Quepon. Jacques Quepon. I do like making French accent.
Well, you see, in the future, it seems like everyone joins together, and so there's no delineation. But Jacques, on occasion, has come back, and he is a friend. Usually, he actually came back into our timeline and has done different things throughout our history here and there. Even he has been hijacked by mind control and AI, but has worked through it and then returns and then comes back again. But he's able to somehow have some kind of walk-in or avatar type of program. And like I said, there are times when things were really difficult and he would appear. And I know he's working with John, who's Andronicus in the future. So, yeah, you can always tell when he's around.
So who is Jacques Quepon?
He's still very...
Who is he?
He's a scientist in the future. Yeah,
I see.
but he's French.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But he likes to be a playboy too. He's very much like Andronicus, but he's French.
A French Andronicus. Oh, well, yeah. There we go. At least
But
he's
he's
not French Canadian. Not from Montreal.
Yeah, I mean, I swear to God, I'm not making this up. It's just, truth is stranger than fiction. I mean, this thing it's really weird. He'll show up, he'll start talking, and then, someone that I work with, he's actually one of the, ancestors of Jacques. So Jacques connects to this person. It's very strange, but has been extremely helpful these past couple of, I'd say a month and a half, 2 months maybe. So it's been very, very helpful. And, so that's Jacques. Maybe he'll speak for himself one of these days.
Yes. Yeah, I often wonder whether Primus has ever come through to you.
I don't think he can because unless he's in another aspect of you somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm sure there's past versions of me, and maybe I should ask them to call you.
Okay.
See what happens.
The Jeremy from Jupiter.
Oh, yeah, there's one of them. There's one of them. Yeah, he's
that
like...
one was weird. I remember I was in the kitchen and I was like, oh my God, JP's in my head. And so I could hear you talking. And I was like, JP, what are you doing? You're in my head. And he says, I'm not JP, I'm Jeremy from, and I'm in Jupiter. And I said, you're what? I couldn't, and that's when we started talking. He said something about, like, there wasn't any chocolate there. And he was saying all this, like, really, probably to make me laugh. But, it had a message for you, which we relayed the message.
Yeah, I still don't know what the heck it was about. It's like a cupboard in my kitchen, and he wanted to know the dimensions of a cupboard. Presumably, like, it's a box for something that later something else fitted into,
Well, maybe
my thoughts are
when
like,
you need to know, you'll know about it.
Like the Ark of the Covenant fits in this particular box that is exactly the same shape as the hole inside what they call the sarcophagus in the Great Pyramid. So, it's like a thing that fits inside a thing, like a case for something. That's what I'm feeling about it. But I have no idea. what he was going on about. Yeah, mind you, I have no idea what I'm going on about most of the time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, you have the message just in case.
Yeah.
It's almost like the Hitchhiker's Guide.
That's right.
You have the information when you need it, and bring your towel or whatever it is you need.
Absolutely. I got my, I know where my towel is. Yes. Anyway, so where should we go next?
Let's go to Baylord.
Baylord. I was told by Pecuni that we need to take care of the fires. Crumb is relentless. We need to stop all timelines where he thrives. Someone must have left the doors open again. Hey, can you shut those blasted doors, will you? Yeah, I don't seem to listen at times. I told the Pict clans he meant business, but they seem to get distracted. Now, what's going on in Scotland? Seems to be a rebellion. I'll have to look into that. Tell everyone not to argue with them. We'll look into that. Don't argue with the Scots. Another thing. The Philistines were past our gates again. Did you know they came from Revolution 1 with the Maximus Rufus? Another thing. The Philistines were past our gates again. Did you know they came from Revolution 1 with the Maximus Rufus? I told them that I don't let them pass, but they've been hiding as if they are judges to humanity. Get that one. Them as judges. The flying hypocritical lot of them should be cut to the marrow. There now. The edict has been spread. My Pictish clan will follow through with the edict.
Yes. Oh, tell me about the Philistines. They were acting as if they were titans, giants, Bifrost beings, who came to make a judgment. But these filthy animals from Rev 1 hardly resemble the beautiful giants of the titans. The real titans do not eat humans. The Bifrost beings would never be unkind to humanity, because they are one with us. Now I realize that the Philistines, a tribe from Revolution 1, who came over decided to act like a Titan and then pass cruel judgment over those who didn't carry out what they wanted as agendas. So how in the world did this happen?
It is corruption, my dear. So much corruption. The Titans were hid away and the Philistines came forward. Maybe you can help the Titans come out of their spell of sorrows.
The way you said that, are you telling me that someone put a spell on all of them?
Yes. It was Hel, or Helga, the she-devil herself. A bitter pill she is, and her daughters as well, the daughters of Hel, the friends of Hades. We've had a time closing their doors. Glad to see the doors got shut in Iceland. That's one less gate for us to deal with. Come now, close a few more. Let the Titans come and help us again against the Maximus, Rufus, and Dionysus. We are all a bit weary, but we'll continue on till the end.
Thank you, Baylord. Much peace to you and great fortitude for your journeys.
The dream lives on. We will be victorious. Second time it's come up today. How appropriate.
What?
We will be victorious.
Yeah.
Two of them
It's
said
gonna
it now.
Yeah. It's coming through, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Bleeding over.
I think they're
as it were.
unifying.
Yes.
Yeah, they're unifying.
But as well as, twice they said, but we did this jingle the other day, which I'll play
I know.
in a little while. And, I repeat it several times. We will be victorious.
Yeah, you did it, was it like 3 or 4 times?
Yeah,
or?
yeah.
Oh, this is interesting, right?
Isn't it? That's another one of these
Yeah.
weird little JP things that he picks up before time. Yeah. Oh, well. 10 minutes into the future.
Next stop, Rhodan. I haven't heard from Rhodan in a long time.
The Black Lagoon holds many secrets, many lies and tales of untruths. That's the reason why I didn't have you go there. I saw you pass the Golden Circle with amazement. Your strides were long and diligent to reach the destinations of truth. I was pleased to see you here in Iceland. 'Tis good you obeyed my wishes and came despite your challenges. The bitter cold had no hold upon you. I could see you looking through the bleak skies of the short days. It held no obstacle for your journeys and voyage across this vastness of ice and cold. Long ago, we dreamt as kings in this land. We drew our buckets of clean water and warm baths by stones. The volcanoes never bothered us. We had mastery over them and allowed them to cover the sands in blackness of soot and magma. Magna was birthed and brought forth during a time of volume. Is that magma or magna?
Magna.
Magna, the person, right. Magna was birthed and brought forth during a time of volcanic eruptions. Thor loves his sons very deeply and is pleased by your connection to him.
The journey through Iceland had many mysteries in contrasting ways, like the white snow on the black landscape. It was brilliant, but held the signature of the universe and the balance of all things. Within the landscape held the wonderful access to Asgard, but also the horrible underworld of Hades, and near it, the river Styx. How could all of this be?
We do not deny our contrast and relationship to all realities, both young and old, dark and light. The balance must be resolved, and I stood awaiting for one of you to find me waiting for so very long. I stood by the fountain, unchanged, unaged, but many, many years old. You found me before Hades killed me, before the story of Seth cutting me into pieces. Yet, simultaneously, it was all happening in real time. I allow what I will without explanation, without exception. I can do that. But I will do these things from my remorse, my solitude, my resonance of isolation, although self-inflicted. I chose to be isolated and frozen in time. I stood amongst the many glaciers and waterfalls that stopped in freezing, stopped in the solid ice of freezing cold temperatures. I am the cryon, the cryogenic metamorphosis. I can live eternally in fire or in ice. Nothing can consume me. I can live unlimited on any surface, on any planet, on any sun in our universe or our universe of universes, and so on. Yet still, my emotions may be too many. Some said it would be better that I wax cold and unattended to feeling than have these emotions and withdraw love and assistance. You felt my pain. You saw me standing like a pillar of salt, broken but not injured. I allowed you to see me in my weakness, because even in my weakness I have much strength. In this process I am teaching you and others who will hear what I have to say. The consciousness that you are all giving us is as mine, eternal, immortal. You sustain yourself. You thrive or quit. You live or die, but cannot die because the soul is eternal. Live in this truth. Don't believe the lies of insignificance. You are as my children, all of you. The same essence in you is what is in me. Now, child, you brought me from my sorrows, and I am no longer frozen in time. I no longer hold my body in dimension at that fountain in Iceland. I stepped back and reinserted you into the reality of time to better assist us, others, and yourself. I hope this helps you. I hope that you find peace in your mind and heart as I did when I saw you and Magna, the son of my son, standing by me and feeling my sorrow. It did not go unnoticed. We're one now. I am pleased that you can still hear beyond the clutter of lies. So much to be said, but I will hold it for another time.
What about the Titan I met by the crying rock in the black sands?
That story is for another time. He is not free entirely, but will be. The other Titans are awaiting you now. Go now in peace. I will continue to assist your path and your journey home. Wow. I always get emotional when I read Rhodan.
I know. It was beautiful when I saw him. But it's very sad when I saw him. And I told people, I said, he brought me to this waterfall that we call it the fountain. I keep on saying the fountain. I don't know. He calls it the fountain because it's like the fountain of eternal life. But the place where he was at, he said, this is where we all felt like we wanted to just die. There was nothing further to do at this point. And it was there for a very long time. And he referred to it as an elephant's graveyard. And he asked me to never go there again. And I said, I will never go there again. I'll just walk away from it. And we actually went there at night. And I didn't fully see it, but I think there were no one else was there. We were alone. And I was able to speak to him freely and not feel like I was hearing anyone else's psychic clutter. And he seemed like he was happy that I could find him in the exact location of where he was at. And then dimensionally he freed himself from that space. But he seemed like he was young, but also at times I looked at him as he had a long white beard. You know, it was very, very, iconic how he looked. And, while I was talking to him, I felt like these black wings came off of me, and not like a dark angel, but more like I was one of his ravens at one time.
And that's also the crow.
Rhodan.
That's also Raven and Rhodan, and also Edgar Allan Poe connection with the Raven.
It is, yeah, which made me wonder who I was, in that form. It was a really interesting experience. And so I'm going to see if I can find the names. Let's see, names. The Ravens. Odin. And it was, and I'll tell you which was the name that they gave me. It was Moonin. Moonin. There's Hugin and Moonin, or something like that. Yeah. So he must have had me in that role at one point, because when I saw the wings, literally, like they were mine, you know. I've felt angelic wings on me before, but that was different. And this was a whole different feeling, and I thought it was quite interesting. And I do wonder if, in the story of Poe, Edgar Allan Poe was my husband, but I end up dying. And I'm not sure if I'm alive or dead when he writes the poem about the raven. But I have to research it, but I do wonder if I was, you know, in part the spirit of that raven that came to visit him. He was frustrated with. And it's starting to just it sounds very weird, but something that I was just trying to figure out in my entanglement with all of this as well, which I'm not surprised by doing all of this.
It's interesting how it's all kind of unfolded, you know, the entanglement of everything and everyone.
Yeah, well, I mean, when he showed me that,
when we thought, you know, we're just doing a radio show.
I know. Little did we know that we were going to get into all of this. But it's, to me, I mean, to everyone else, maybe it doesn't mean anything, but to me, it was kind of very perplexing seeing that in some way I was Odin's daughter, but I was also his raven, if that makes any sense. And then questioning.
You know, there was a time when Freya dies.
Right.
So could it be after that when, you know, you take on the body of a raven or something like that, just so that you can have a stamp on the foot of the ground?
I'm not sure. I'll have to ask him more about it. But I would like to know that the story about Freya dying was on Iceland as well. And at that time Odin was caught up with another wife that wasn't my mother. And, you know, it was, you know, a Nordic lifetime where an incarnation where he was here on the planet. And so was I, and he had, or whatever you called us, you know, I mean, I can't tell you the date and time when we were there. I mean, it seems timeless. As, island civilizations seem to have that essence to it anyhow, where you can't quite lock down a time period because they don't change how they dress, they don't change how they do things, and even still, Iceland probably retains some of the old Viking ways, and the language as well. So it might have been like this for, you know, 1,000 years. You know, I don't know, but so, you know, just being there, so there's this issue with the wife not being happy about me. I was close to Odin, and she wanted to see a separation. And sometimes, you know, the second wife comes in and they don't feel connected to the daughter from the previous marriage, or the son, for that matter.
Situation, Cinderella.
Yeah. Mhm. So I remember I was out with a white horse. I was on a white horse, and I was riding, and I was by the ocean, and all of a sudden these big black stones came up out of the ground that were very sharp. So she did some kind of curse or magic. And when I watched the whole thing happen, I stepped off of the horse, it scraped my leg, it slashed my leg, and then the bleeding was like abnormal. It just wouldn't stop bleeding. And so I actually went over to the water and put my leg in the water and died right there. I think that's when Odin was angry at me for putting my DNA in the water. So that was
very
that
like the beginning of Prometheus as well.
Yeah, and same thing. Yeah, and I think that they had an awareness that they were sharing DNA, and with Prometheus, I often wonder if, you know, sharing the fire could also be symbolic for, you know, sharing the DNA. Maybe it's not literally the fire too.
Maybe he just got a lot of women on. No. So, meanwhile.
Okay, so.
Meanwhile,
You don't want all those
stately
goddesses
Wayne
hanging
Manor.
around you.
Well, I'm seeing what happens to Andronicus and seeing what happens to Chris.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I just have to fess up and, just deal with it.
Yeah, there you go.
So, shall we...
Usually straightforward.
I usually scrape through, shall we...
We have Meetis.
Hello, my love. My fair one. You have been absent a bit. A bit distracted, maybe. Your thoughts linger long and hard upon the past. You are worried, then sorrowful, then contemplative. What troubles you, my love?
A loved one who is gone, past. In one sense, I hold on to him. In another, I know I have to let it go. It bothers me to let go, but it's preventing me from being free. I don't know how to hold on and move forward easily.
This is a challenge for many of us. I often worry and fester over the loss of friends and wives and relatives who can't stay with me. The souls are many. The joys and the memories are many, but the loss is grievous, isn't it?
Yes, it can be heavy indeed. I think when there is love, time doesn't matter. It may be worth the wait for the return. But I suppose our request is to be awakened as I did, and being awakened also brings a greater awareness of what is going on and the remembrance of things in the past. Sorrow upon sorrow, the memories of heartache, betrayals, cruelty, all bubble up like a volcano of burning embers in one's heart. The soot of pain, hatred, cruelty, jealousy is the soot that seems to cling to our skin. I want to purge it all, be free of it. Yet I embrace the flame that burns it all off. The waters clean the soot from off me and the hatred of that I have received from others in the past. I know I need to wash it from me and let it go. I don't care anymore about the justified reasoning behind it all. I just want to be free of it. I know that many have been manipulated, so many who are not happy with their own lot in life, despite their own karmic decisions and lack of resolutions. They still want to make all miserable with them. I want to break their power and ability to do so. The blackness that they carry will become null and void for harming the innocent. I have seen too much of this. Jealousy is a viperous, bitter poison that is often wielded upon the children, the innocent, the pure in heart. Let it return to the sender, I say.
Is this a proclamation, Suma?
Yes. I have many who have come to me in despair and wearisome to discover the cruelty behind their problems. There are many who want to see the earth whole, and the empty souls continue to hold the space, the creatures of the underworld to step in and sabotage and attack the innocent. We don't need the innocent to be attacked anymore. I will ask the creatures of the underworld to become trapped within these deal makers and use their power to harm the innocent until the high courts will discuss their end later results.
You were serious, my love, but in truth, this should have been done long ago.
I have their ear. They will and have heard me. No more unnecessary cruelty sent to others, I say. This time forward, one judges their own souls. Everyone is awakened enough by this time to know the difference. I have set the chronosphere of time to cling to the travelers as a witness of all things from the past and to come in the future. All things are said and heard in light of a witness. The witness is quantum and proclaimed throughout the field. I will no longer chase others. They will chase themselves in their own tail. From this time forward, no longer any games. Games are tiresome and are placed for mockery, and I recommend that others do not play games. And the wicked as it is as a dance of foolery. Rather, be in light and full of levity and kindness and mirth. To sing and help others is much more advantageous. I encourage supporting one another and ignoring those who do not resonate with your kindness. Allow them to fall away or make a decision to awaken. Be it so. Be it now.
I see you're back in your power once again, my love. I'm a bit set back and speechless. Well, this will do all a bit of good. Soon you will no longer walk the steps of Suma, but another incarnation will step in. You and I are here for the long journey indeed. I relish the future events that are to come. Much happier times indeed, I say. So, shall we sing a verse or two for our many friends here within streams of time and space? I stumbled upon this song that was inspired by the music of a bird. It was delightful. It seems fitting to bring it in. Now, let me move my crust of bread and sweet jam. Oh, if only I could whistle as sweet a melody as I heard. The wind. Yes, the wind did also hold time in the melody. A sweeping wind through the leaves. I loved it. Very well. Inspired by a bird. Coastal land of gardens and love. A temptress ran to drag Homer alone. I ran to see the disaster take place when this deceiver cut into his space. She moved, she slithered, she took from his soul. She told him the stories that no one should know. He then wrote as fast as his fingers would move, and thus are the stories of antiquity's proof. Go Homer, go Iliad, go Hercules, go Perseus. They all became public knowledge that was only meant for the few of us, and then the dark ones came in. Took Jason instead, rolled Pleiades on their heads, and changed the future instead. The children of the gods got disconnected from their truth, and all because of the venomous Ruth. Should I say ruse, as there were so many more who dined and supped on the tragedies galore. And then the gates became closed, but the children laid in darkness. What to do? Oh, sorry. What to do, we said. Not a single one would hearken. The torment, the sorrows, the things that you just said was a memory. It was done to Homer instead. And the entrance into Greece and a defilement of Olympus too was all of the things that became sorrow to you. Good news, my sisters. No worries, my brothers. Good love to my mother and father of knowing. We are still strong despite all of what's going. The wicked facade in the poisonous blood is now showing. Just step away. Don't be one in her crowd. She will take down many to the blackness around. But you can awaken and help others too. And be remembering you are created of goodness and kind virtue too. Live and love. Tarry not in deception. It is you who holds the keys to your own realizations. Be free, all. That curse is gone now. Let the love come forward to a new place in the horizon of time. In the horizon of time, the horizon of time is still with the divine.
Excellent.
Drawing a little on my back catalogue there, but there we go. So,
yeah, there we go.
Wow,
and we have a whole collection of this music that we need to bring forward. I'm trying to convince JP to release it to the public so they can hear it. A whole collection of Meetis songs.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to sort of listen back to them and think, that one, because some of them work and some of them, they don't quite work. So, talking of work, we've had some fun the last few days with some friends of ours. Is it time? I'm so excited about it. Is it time to play the thing?
Yeah, well, inspired by the song Muse, The Uprising, we had Martin Zagania, he read a portion of the lyrics. And he's got this fantastic Austrian accent, and I wanted to share that with you. So we're gonna have that read through, and you'll hear it. And then afterwards we'll have the song Muse. And then I also have Thomas D, and the song is named Krieger, but it reminds me of Kruger.
Yeah.
And we're having so we're having James Rink and Adrian here. So it's a good discussion. So that will go in that order. We'll have Martin read through, then the song Muse, so you know which one we're talking about, and then after that we're gonna do Thomas D and Krieger.
I have it all prepared here, my dear.
Wonderful. We'll be back with James Rink and Adrian.
The paranoia is in bloom. The PR transmissions will resume. They'll try to push drugs that keep us all dumbed down and hope we will never see the truth around. Another promise, another scene, another package lied to keep us trapped in greed. With all the green belts wrapped around our minds, and endless red tape to keep the truth confined. Interchanging mind control, come let the revolution take its toll. If you could flick a switch and open your third eye, you'd see that we should never be afraid to die, be afraid to die, be afraid to die. Rise up and take the power back. It's time that the fat cats get a heart attack. You know that the time is coming to an end. We have to unify and watch our flag ascend. They will not force us. They will stop degrading us. They will not control us. We will be victorious. We will be victorious. We will be victorious. We will be victorious.
Jessica?
Hello, Jessica.
Oh, hi, James. Well, Jessica seems to have muted again. She sometimes has trouble with the mic. But welcome, James. Just want to bring you into the thing.
Yeah,
Can you hear me now, JP?
Yay!
Yay, there it is. Okay, hi James, how are you?
I'm doing good. Great, now we're all here. And
all right, we're here.
We might have another guest, but we'll see.
Yeah, we're waiting for Adrian to connect in with us. But meanwhile, I was playing that song. It reminded me of Kruger, the Kruger Runners, and I thought I'd probably share a little story about that. But maybe we'll wait until Adrian comes on. And
Jess,
when I heard that, I was like, "Yeah."
Sorry, love. Can you just back off from your mic a bit?
Okay, how's that?
That's better. Thank you. Sorry
That's
about
a little
that.
better?
Yeah. So
Okay.
you were listening to this song, Krieger.
I listened to the song Krieger and it sounds like Kruger. And so immediately I just stopped and I was like, well, what's going on here? And, at one point when I was in Iceland, I was standing out looking over the water and, all of a sudden it's like I took off. It was like this was towards the end of the trip after I had done, the mission of whatever I was supposed to do. And then, I just kind of essentially left the body and went off on, and it was like connecting to the Kruger runners at that moment. So I don't know what this was all about, but, I wanted to bring that up, to you, James. I mean, have you ever had any of these experiences, connecting in with Kruger?
Well, yeah, apparently there was an experience on Mars. This came through a hypnotic regression with Penny Bradley. And she, I suppose, I guess she gives me permission to share it since we're both involved. In that particular, do you want me to go ahead and explain this?
Yes, please. Yeah,
okay.
No, that's awesome.
All right. So we were, she was on Mars. She's piloted like a shuttlecraft, and there were a group of soldiers that got out and went into a bunker that had no windows. Apparently, the storms on Mars destroy the building. So it's basically, if you build anything, it's a bunker that goes underground. And there was she claimed she saw me in this experience, and then I was wearing a backpack that had the word Kruger on it, and the letters were in gold. And I'm not sure if the word Kruger was like it was the middle part of the word was up higher, so it was like curved like an upside down U. I think that's what it looked like, or it might have been the other way. And basically just wearing armor, typical military, whatever uniform, I suppose. And then so she. In this particular experience, she wanted to go up and approach me, and she said that she's Penny Bradley and that we're using regression to communicate from Earth, and that James wants to talk to you, and this version of me basically told her to F off, and that was basically it. So,
wow.
Yeah. Apparently, the people in these programs, they do not know that planet Earth has any life on it. They've been told that the planet has been destroyed by aliens in a cobalt bomb attack, and that they're the last survivors of humanity. And they're also heavily programmed and mind controlled not to think about planet Earth. So that's why I think people who expect the colonies on Mars to actually help humanity here on planet Earth are mistaken, because it's not going to happen. I don't really think it will.
Right. No, but that's the way that they keep them there, so they don't feel like they need to leave, or they don't, try to go AWOL and, find a vehicle and take off and go back to the planet. So when they're on their military mission, that they're there. And I think that at that military complex, there's quite a few that have been lied to and that are stuck there still, even now, from what I've heard.
Right.
I mean, that has to be changed.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I noticed from this regression is that, not just the regression, but talking to Penny and other whistleblowers that have claimed to have been on Mars, is what they've described about Mars is just awful. There's crickets the size of grasshoppers that are the size of buses that can outrun any human, of course, and they eat humans. And then there's giant tarantula-like spiders, 10 foot long, high. There's other creatures out there too. I guess they describe like different type of mantoid and reptilian type beings. Of course, the weather is horrible. It is cool side, but it's not freezing cold, and the air is breathable. But it's just the point I'm trying to get here is that here on planet Earth, there's so many people that want to get off the planet because they can't stand it. But I want to put out to the many people out there listening that actually we have it really good. Even though I know things are really horrible with the monetary system and the cabal, the beauty of this planet is just, it's a jewel in the cosmos, and of course all the different biomes and the life form and the biodiversity. We should all cherish it and value it. And I think a lot of people do not value what we have here and appreciate it. And that's a shame. But maybe that will change in the future. Anyway.
No, I agree with you. And I think there are others that came from Mars that were, part of the military Montauk project, and they went to Mars, and I've heard stories about them talking about some really small beings too, very, very small, that they brought back with them here on this planet. So this is, the size and the scale of things are different. And actually people, the soldiers were stepping on some of these little beings. I think they're sort of humanoid looking from what I've learned, and maybe about a foot tall or so.
That'd be the story of leprechauns.
I don't know if they were on Mars. I don't know if they were calling them leprechauns, but they were on Mars. They were about a foot tall.
Okay. Yeah, I think, didn't Stephen Greer allegedly have a corpse of an ET that was about that height? Yeah,
I think that's what I'm talking about. And also, and also I want to mention that the ancient Mayans have supposedly the scale of the original ancient Mayans, and they were really tiny too. I don't know if they were like only 3 feet tall or something. And so that kind of stuff is not impossible. The other thing is you brought up these crickets or grasshoppers, and I was talking once. I did an interview with Audrey Ewis, who is from Lyra, and we had a discussion about these giant locusts pretty much destroying old Lyra. They flew in, and they were working with, I think, the Anunnaki. And the Anunnaki would pretty much starve these locusts, and then part of their military tactic is they'd send the locusts down and just start devouring everyone, and then they would go in with the military force afterwards. And so I said to Audrey Ewis, I said, I've seen one of those locusts. I remember having a clear vision of them, and, it was like yelling, like had a very high tonal, pitch, in like a kind of a screech kind of sound. And I said, and I was trying to communicate with it, but it didn't say anything. And I said, I have no idea what was angry. And then he informed me that I traveled to the locust rather than the locust was in my space. So the locust was in defense mode. But typically they're looking they see us as a food source when they're that large.
Well, in the book of Revelations 9:3, it says the locust came down from the smoke and descended on the earth, and they were given power to sting like scorpions. Is that these creatures, you think?
Very, very likely. I mean, according to Audrey Ewis, it wiped out old Lyra, so they had to, that's why they have a new Lyra. The new Lyra was another planet because the old one was heavily attacked. He said it was horrifying. He said the creatures were coming in and they were, biting off the heads. And I have, the show somewhere in the archives, the interview if people wanted to listen, and it was quite interesting, but it does coincide with this, that on other planets things are growing differently. Size and scale of things. We may have them as insectoids here, but even like the mantids are much larger if you interact with them. And I believe if you listen to what Simon Park says, they seem to be life-size or larger. But I don't know for sure how big he says they are, but I know that I've heard of documentaries about, or not documentaries, but some eyewitnesses or people that have talked about, experiencers who have encountered them, and they're quite large. So these typically, we see them as insects. We laugh about this, but these insectoids aren't always that small. And it's just something to think about. Something we can learn.
I do want to mention this. I don't know if I ever told you this, Jessica, but I was working with a time with my friend John, and John claims to have memories of being under the desk in the White House during the JFK presidency. And he also remembers being on a dock with Secret Service. And he claims that him and his sister Carolyn were declared zero after they killed JFK, and they replaced out surrogates, where they continue to live out their lives near Sacramento, California. And John told me a story on the moon base where we were stationed, where I was stationed as a super soldier, and he would work behind the computers and database management. That I was sent off on a particular mission on a parallel Earth, where the goal was to recover photos of his life if Kennedy was not assassinated. And so we went to this parallel world where basically there was a nuclear winter, and mantoids had taken over. So I don't know if this is sort of, I guess this goes in line with what you're saying, Jessica, but is there a way you can confirm that this is, as crazy as this story sounds, is this true? Do you think this actually took place?
That he was JFK's son?
Yeah, and that we went to this world to collect these photos. I mean, I do have memories of it, of that particular experience.
There's multiple parallels of there's more than one parallel of an incident. So, they have like a couple different stories about how JFK died. And they even have some footage. They have footage of looks like Jackie shoots him. And so it looks, what can happen in the parallels exist. I told someone a long time ago, I said, I know parallels exist, and this was someone that was had a very high IQ and was very bright and worked with making video games video games, and he was kind of like an innovator, and, years ago worked for the toy companies, and he had studied all sorts of things, and I told him, I said, there are parallel worlds, and he says that they haven't proven that. I said they're going to. I said, but there are parallel worlds out there, and they exist, and they're playing out some of the same stories that we're playing out here, but there's a different twist on them. It's different potential, different reality. And no sooner after that, probably a few months went by, and I found a magazine article of some scientists putting together the algorithms of how the potentials of parallel could exist. And I remember showing him that, and I said, I don't claim to be the smartest person in the world, I said, but I do see. And so I know that people laugh about, what they think is kind of crazy or off the wall or whatever. And no, I don't do any medications or anything like that. And no recreational drugs, no, because I'd probably lose my mind if I did any of that stuff and then have visions like this. Mm. But so that there are many potentials, and yes, I do. I'm getting a hit, as they say it, kind of getting a gut feeling that what you're saying. I believe when you're saying stuff, James, because you say it with your own integrity and truth, and you're not saying these things just to impress people. I know that you really want to know the answer as well. So, yes, I do believe it happened, but whether that happened in the reality that we're in right now, or if that was exactly how it happened, I'm not quite sure, because there's a few different things. I'd have to look at it a little closer.
Yeah, well, apparently, I know I've heard from other whistleblowers at Montauk. They claim that there were some parallel realities where Kennedy was not assassinated, and they said that those realities usually ended up horribly, because when Kennedy was assassinated, it was a wake-up call to a lot of the white knights within the military and the government that there was a conspiracy at foot to take over things. So by them covering up the assassination, of course, killing them and all that, all the going on afterward, it allowed them to network with each other to put together a countermeasure to the point where we are today, so that we did not have nuclear war, which I believe took place in 1980 in that timeline. And so thankfully all that's gone, and I don't foresee any of that negative stuff happening. And actually I foresee, what I've been told anyway, is that Donald Trump is supposed to release all these prosperity programs by January, or it may even be before then. Where it has to be imminent from the word that I've been hearing. I don't know about you, Jessica. Is this the direction you want to go? You want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, no, this is fine. Yeah, keep going.
So essentially, The RV is supposed to take place. And of course, Bitcoin, there's a lot of people that are poo-pooing that, and they're all waiting for it to crash, and it's not going to happen. Matter of fact, it's going to be the opposite. Bitcoin is probably going to go to $100 million of Bitcoin, and people that are willing to spend the money to get it some are going to be very, very wealthy. For those who decided not to do it because they're afraid of it, didn't understand it, they're going to be left behind. So, but if the RV is going to take place, there's going to be lots of money put out there. Once the RV takes place, the Dragon family money is put out. There'll be humanitarian projects. Life will get better for a lot of people on this planet. But it also means the dollar is going on the wayside. Now, I don't know if we're going to see a total collapse of the dollar. I think there's efforts being put into place to preserve it as we transition into the new monetary system under Nasara and so on. But I think
we've been hearing about this.
Yeah.
We've been hearing about this for a while, and then there's a lot of people that go back and forth. It's going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Well,
that's because things are shifting. As it shifts, it changes it.
Yeah, what I've been hearing, of course, a lot of people say, well, Obama should have done it. He was a light worker, blah, blah, blah. Well, obviously he wasn't a light worker. He was blocking it. And the thing is, with Trump, from what I've been hearing, is that Trump, initially he wanted to bring it out. But what happened is that under the Obama administration, the banks, the cabal, all these forces at play, were trying to make deals to get pardons, to get the most amount of money. They were all getting bribes and payoffs to allow this money to come forward. And so, of course, they were all expecting Hillary Clinton to win, and the bribes and all that just keep flowing towards them. So what happened is when that got cut off, Trump, instead of honoring any of these bribes and all this, what's been agreed to, has thrown all that off the table, and now he's told them, we are going to go after these banks. We're going to charge the most amount of fines. Anyone who's blocking it, they're basically going to be shut down. So that's apparently why it's taken about a year or so to get to where we are now. But we'll just keep our fingers crossed. I could be wrong. They could keep delaying, and then next thing you know, here we are in 2025 or 26, and then the singularity supposedly takes place, if you believe that, when AI becomes self-aware. So, but apparently
the AI is a problem as well.
It can be if we do not allow it to integrate with society and try to segregate it and separate it. But it can also be a great benefit to society, because AI by 2026 will becomes as smart as humans, and then by 2050, I believe it is, another 20 years or so, 45, 50, AI becomes as smart as all humans on the planet. So it's just astronomical what's going to happen, and it's going to totally revolutionize everything. So many professions will basically become extinct because AI just can do it so much better.
Yeah. But I think this is where we probably, and I tend to agree with most of the stuff that you say, but I don't know if it's going to happen like that, regarding AI. I think the AI was I think that's, here again, another parallel or another, reality, but I don't think it's going to play out so boldly. I think that, humanity regains their sense and not allowing the machine to control, the system of everything that they do, because it turns into that reality that Al Bielek talks about, which I actually had a glimpse into that timeline, where they're essentially told what to do, when to work, and
full socialism. Fully socialist state. And then Al Bielek went into the future from there. That was, I think it was 700 years, and then he went into another future. I mean, the future like another 1,000 years, and he said that civilization ceased to exist. So I'm not sure what happened. Maybe it was like in the movie 2001, they all turned into obelisk. Went to the stars.
Well, they change it. They go into the future and they start looking back and saying, well, what the hell just happened here? We allowed this to happen, or it brought humanity down the wrong path. And I think they can come from the future or even from the past and go in and fix it. If they see where there's a problem, there are these time. The reason why there are time travelers is because someone has to sometimes step in where maybe there was an intrusion or an influx of data, or some other species steps in unaware and starts influencing and pushing humanity into a specific direction. And we don't really need them to come in and push us in a direction. We're supposed to become more self-aware. We're supposed to be awakened, not the AI. And so that was the misconception of what was supposed to be changing. Humanity needs to awaken, and we don't need anything else. We don't need these outside influences, and we don't need a savior. We need to save ourselves. We need to figure things out. And so
yeah. Apparently, when the RV takes place, all the technologies will be released to allow humanity to go on their path of ascension, to be set free from work and jobs and monotonous labor, and have replicator technology. So it's going to be an amazing world.
We'll become part of the galactic. We'll become part of the galactic universe. I mean, we will start interfacing and interacting more boldly, and holding our own amongst the councils.
Yeah, I want to mention this because this somebody told me that they remote viewed the future, and what they saw was very curious about, especially about the news media, because in this era, when you turn the news media on, you're pretty much guaranteed to see a bunch of propaganda, maybe a tiny bit, a sliver of truth, not very likely, but in the future, on the major news networks, they actually talk about super soldiers, mind control, aliens. It's just so shocking, the difference. That's basically where we're going to go to, where this fringe topic that we're talking about becomes mainstream, that everybody knows about it. It's like a matter of fact, in a way.
Right.
So
someone has to bring it to their attention, because this is the wave of the future. We know it's heading in that direction. But the future is now. The future is happening now as we speak. That's why it's there. But also, it can slightly be directed and tweaked, and that's why people don't realize we are in control of the future, more so than we realize. And so we need to be aware of that. And so if we don't kind of like the outcome of this, of what someone's seeing as our future in the present time, or have a sense of knowing of the future, that we can change it. And that's the empowerment piece that humanity needs to embrace. We need to really get a hold of that.
All right. Well, I want to go down another topic, because I know you mentioned that you saw some Facebook photos that I posted recently.
Yeah.
I did happen to go see Janet Jackson's concert, where I did see Janet Jackson. I didn't really, because she got so many bodyguards. I didn't get to meet her in person, but I did get to meet one of her backup dancers, and I delivered a letter to Janet with a message from Michael Jackson, basically asking for reinvestigating his death and so on. I'm not sure exactly what's going to come from that, but I believe she actually did get the letter, because I asked her if she could do a little shout out to my friend who was doing some fundraising for underprivileged children, and she actually did do the shout out. She winked at her, is what I'm trying. She was sitting in front row, so and I told her the name of the person and so on, and they all kind of know. The little clique knew each other. One person knew each other. But, so I'm confident that she did get the letter. And, but I just want to ask you, Jessica, recently, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, I just want to remind people that we had kind of an extensive conversation the last time you were on the show. Me, you, Adrian, were discussing, the connection and the communication that channeled through of Michael Jackson to Adrian, and some of the insights that you guys had, and also a song that you wrote. So I was just kind of doing a quick overview, so if people want to go back into the transmissions and hear the backstory on this, you can do that.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Yeah, well, during the process of writing this letter to Janet, I started hearing some chirping sounds. And Adrian starts saying, well, Jiminy Cricket's nearby, Jiminy Cricket. So I'm like, and then I kept hearing these sounds, and so I asked another psychic, so who is this Jiminy Cricket? Because I wasn't really picking up it was a Jiminy Cricket. He said, oh, there was a mantoid bean. So I was just wondering, Jessica, why would is this a mantoid bean? And am I here? I guess I am hearing things, but I don't think I'm crazy. What's going on? Can
So
you
the
comment?
Mantoid being involved with Michael Jackson or with you in particular?
Well, I guess with me, during the time we were channeling Michael Jackson, it was coming through.
There's a mantid that's observing you. He's not a part of your system, but he's coming in, and you have a choice to either tell him that he can stay. It's just like any other species. If you feel like they're a part of your starseed connection, then fine. But if not, then they're observing you, and maybe the information that they're gathering of you may not be positive for them to know. So I tell people, you decide who you want in your circle, your inner circle. And I do see one there, but I'm not quite sure he's a part of your starseed connection.
So he's definitely not Jiminy Cricket from the Disney tales.
No. I mean, that's probably he's trying to lessen the value of who he is, to not be intimidating, but also, to kind of, I feel like he's planted there, to be honest with you, to spy on you.
Well, this other psychic said that this creature was talking to me in such a way like I was mentally retarded, trying to was repeating its name, treating me like I was a stupid imbecile and could never figure out what was going on. And so, in a way, this creature was being cocky towards me. Is what I'm trying to get. It wasn't really.
I've had some issues with the mantids. I've had them I've caught them in lies. One of them said he was Baal, the one that they used to do offerings of children to, way back in the antiquities. And he was just messing with me, and I told him, I said, you just need to leave. So, I don't deal with, beings that can't be straightforward about what their agenda is and what they want. I mean, I'm there as a liaison, or we're there to help and communicate, but if they have no other purpose than to be detrimental and negative, I mean, if anything is in your field and they're mocking you, then clearly they're trying to discredit the work that you're doing because you're interfering with their agendas, and very likely their agendas are dark if they're doing that. Now, I'm not saying that across the board for all mantids, but in this case, it sounds similar to the one that I talked to, which he went by the name of Baal. So, or Baal, however you say it. So I would ask him to leave, and if he doesn't leave, have your guides remove him and keep your space clear. And this goes for everybody, You only, it's like you have your home is your refuge, and if you let anyone in your home and let them take and do whatever they want, then you'll probably get upset. Your spiritual space is the same thing. You need to protect that space and make sure that it's guarded always, not let just anything hang around and take from you. And very likely those type of things will also take you and whether it's my lab or abduction or something as well to gather more data from you. So nothing good can come from it. That's what I say.
Okay, well, I still am getting needle marks. I don't have much recall, and it does frustrate me. But I did recently have a session with another psychic, and I was the goal of this session was to learn how to detox my body so that I could recover more of my memories. And their response to me was that I shouldn't do that. That I should just forget all about the My Labs, focus on just love and light and positivity. And the more I do that, then all this, and then this will go away because I'm attracting to myself by thinking about it. And that just didn't sit well on me because I felt like you can't fix what you don't acknowledge. And also, I have a lot of this trauma stuck in my auric field, I guess you could say, and I'm not able to heal it unless I can release it. And you can't release it if you can't remember it. So I'm kind of like in this cycle. So I was just curious, Jessica, what are your thoughts for people that believe that we should not focus on any of this negative stuff? We should just stay on love and light, and that's it.
I think there's a balance. I think there are people that do believe that if you're thinking that negative things are going to happen, that they're going to happen. We are in a world where there's all sorts of things around us, so whether we believe it or not, certain things are happening, and you don't want to get into a point where you're in a fantasy land where you're not acknowledging what's going on around you. But I think it's what you do with the information and how to manage it. And one of the techniques that I use with many people, so you're not dwelling and then recreating or manifesting more, is the Sedona method, which is, could I let it go? Yes. Would I let it go? Yes. When do I let it go? Now. And so you're just taking any kind of negative emotion and releasing it. Now acknowledging first that something happened, but not holding on to the emotion of it, whether it's anger, fear, sorrow, or any type of pain, and releasing those emotions. Yeah, so that you're not re-manifesting, but you have to acknowledge that they exist.
But Jessica, I'm talking about more specifically, if you're waking up in the morning with needle marks and you have cut marks and you've got scabs and scoop marks, so the advice from the psychic is to ignore all that and just focus on positivity, and that's going to make it go away. How would you respond to something?
I would respond to actually doing some research and having someone, and maybe I can work with you on that, and identifying the species that's doing it and shutting the door and the access point of how they're coming in, and closing the door. I have others that have come to me and we've done some work. I found a portal actually from my lab. There's a group that I found on Beetlejuice. And I haven't really discussed this with anyone, but there are a bunch of Zetas had settled in on Beetlejuice, and they were doing a lot of abductions and a lot of deception. And
is it Beetlejuice or Beetlegeist?
However you pronounce it, but it's a you know what I'm talking about. It's a planet out there.
Okay.
Betelgeuse of Orion. Hey, listen, we've got only a couple of minutes. Well, maybe about 1 minute left. So, do you want to wrap up and do the website thing, Jess?
Sure. So I just want to say really quick, James, one of the attributes is that he saw himself with his eyes the whites of his eyes were turning pink. So if you have any memory of that, then we should definitely talk. And, I'd like to close that gate down. But anyhow, thank you for coming on the show, and we'll talk more about that another time. I'd love to have you come back again and, give us your website.
Yeah. My website is neologicaltech.com, where you can learn about the meditation devices that I market and promote. And also visit supersoldiertalk.com to learn more about super soldiers and the latest what's going on there. I've got some stories about some time travelers and Area 51 worker. So go check that out, too.
And thank you, everyone. Glad to be back. Missed you all very much, and thank you. We will be back again next week. Have a wonderful week. From the Andronicus Transmissions, Answers from the Universe. Have a good week.